I lost my identity at 47 years old. For 22 years, I was the TV guy, Emmy nominations, shows that dominated culture, and I walked away from the comfort of a steady paycheck and corporate constraints. The scariest part wasn't losing the security. It was looking in the mirror and not knowing who I was anymore. So here's what I learned about rebuilding yourself from scratch. If you've ever left security for opportunity, this story will show you what those first crucial weeks really look like and the breakthrough that changed everything. This is day 4 of my transformation story. Yesterday, I told you about making the leap from A&E to climb a higher mountain. And today, I'm sharing what those first 30 days actually felt like. The raw truth about leaving steady income behind and the win that gave me the confidence to keep going. Just like my client Rebecca, who went from I don't know how to explain what makes me different to closing her biggest client ever after her brand audit. Or Michael, who discovered his scattered approach was actually his superpower when positioned correctly and doubled his rates within 60 days. I knew I had valuable expertise, but I had no idea how to turn it into a business. Those first 30 days taught me everything about the gap between having skills and making money. And let me be brutally honest about what those first 30 days looked like and felt like. I woke up every morning with a knot in my stomach. For more than 22 years, I had gotten a paycheck every other Friday. Didn't matter if the show was a hit or a flop or I took a vacation. The money came, and now nothing was guaranteed. I remember sitting at my desk in my office, looking at our bills and thinking, what did I do to my family? The anxiety was ridiculous. I was crying some days, not because I regretted the decision, but because the weight of providing for my family without that safety net was overwhelming. I was up at 2 a.m., sometimes unable to sleep. I was watching YouTube videos about entrepreneurship, reading books about business, trying to figure out how to turn 22 years of television experience to actual income. The questions that kept me up at night. How do I start the money flowing again? What services do I even offer? How do I find customers? What if I can't figure this out? I had never started a business. I had never had to create something in return for money outside of my W-2. I didn't know sales. I didn't know marketing. I was starting from zero in everything except experience. But here's what was also happening. I was learning again. For the first time in years, I was learning with intention. I was networking with purpose. Every conversation, every book, every video was teaching me something I could use. The golden handcuffs were off, and suddenly I could see all the possibilities in the world. It was nerve-wracking and exhilarating at the same time. A few days after leaving A&E, I got a call. That changed everything. It was from my buddy James Daynard, one of the most successful real estate investors I know. And here's the thing. I had just commissioned James' television show, $1 Million Zombie Flips on A&E, about a month earlier. Huge win for me because James and his business represented everything I was trying to do with the Homemade Nation block. And here I was telling the person who had poured all his trust into me with this television show that, hey, James, I'm leaving A&E. But James turned it around completely. Instead of being upset, he was excited for me. Excited because now he could be in business with me outside of the television world. Brad, he said, I heard you made the leap. Well, I told him I made the leap. Are you ready to get serious about real estate? Well, here's what James offered me: the chance to be a capital partner on one of his flips. Oh, like I struck gold. I wouldn't be doing the actual flipping now. James would handle that. But I could invest and learn the process from one of the best in the business. That's exactly what I needed. Not just the investment opportunity, but the confidence boost of knowing I could leverage my television relationships for real estate success. James wasn't just offering me a deal, he was giving me the gift of my first real estate investment. He was showing me how to turn my TV connections into wealth building opportunities. Within 30 days of leaving A&E, I had my first capital investment locked in with James Daynard. But even with that first win, I still had the bigger question looming. How do I turn 22 years of TV experience into a business? Now, I knew it was valuable. My entrepreneur mentor, Francis Ablola, had planted a seed in my ear early on, telling me that my years of a television experience could be a multi-million-dollar business. But what kind of business? How do I package decades of making hit shows into something people will pay for? So I dove into learning everything I could about business. YouTube became my university. I was watching videos about sales, marketing, personal branding, content creation. I was reading books by Russell Brunson, Alex Hormozi, Grant Cardone, anyone who could teach me how to turn expertise into income. I was listening to podcast after podcast. I joined masterminds. I started asking questions. The real game changer? I began taking imperfect action. I started creating content about my journey, not because I had all the answers, but because I was willing to share the questions. I began networking with purpose, not just for TV deals, but to understand how successful entrepreneurs built their businesses. Every day was a masterclass in entrepreneurship. And I was fumbling, making mistakes, but I was moving forward. The beautiful thing about not having the golden handcuffs anymore was that I could explore every possibility. I could have connections I never could have had as a network executive. I could build relationships without corporate restrictions. As that first James Daynard investment started moving forward, something shifted in me. I realized I was not starting over. I was building on top of 22 years of proven success. I had relationships that most people spend decades trying to build. I had credibility from creating shows that reached hundreds of millions of viewers. The question wasn't whether I could succeed, it was what form that success would take. So with the confidence from that first real estate win, I started putting myself out more in Charlotte. I began networking locally, looking for opportunities to apply what I was learning. And that's when I met RJ. RJ threw a mastermind. He had what I couldn't do. He had a contracting business. I had what he didn't have: the ability to buy homes, oversee finances, calculate ARV, and potential profit. Plus, I had access to renovation expertise through my network. That network living inside of my house, that was my wife. RJ wanted to be more of a real estate investor instead of just a work for hire. I wanted a local partner who could handle the construction side. So we created a partnership that exists to this day. But throughout all of this, I kept coming back to the same realization. My real superpower wasn't just real estate investing. It was my ability to make things impossible to ignore. For 22 years, I had taken ideas and turned them into cultural phenomena. I had made shows that people couldn't stop watching, couldn't stop talking about. I knew there was a way to help other people become just as unforgettable in their industries. Just didn't know what that looked like yet. And maybe, just maybe, you're in a similar place right now. Maybe you've made the leap, but you're in those scary first weeks or months. Maybe you're lying awake at night wondering how you're going to replace that steady income. Maybe you know you have the valuable expertise, but you don't know how to package it into a business. Maybe you're learning everything you can, but still feeling overwhelmed by all of the possibilities. Maybe you're taking imperfect action, but wondering if you're moving in the right direction. Here's what I learned in those first 30 days. The gap between having expertise and making money isn't about your skills. It's about your courage to keep learning, keep networking, and keep taking action even when you don't have all the answers. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you about the moment that everything clicked. The breakthrough that showed me exactly how to turn 22 years of television experience into a methodology that helps others become unforgettable. It's day 4, and we're building towards a complete transformation. Don't miss tomorrow, because if you miss tomorrow, you'll miss the story how I discovered the $2 bill brand methodology. And because you're helping me test the system of how to help people find their vibe, I'm going to package it into a higher ticket program. I'm going to keep the Vibe Finder GPT free and my $2 bill brand audit at $497. But I can only take 4 more people this month because each audit requires a tremendous amount of my personal time, and I'm building this business. But I want your feedback, so I'm offering it $497. That offer is going to go away because it's going to be packaged in my higher ticket offer. So if you're ready to stop wondering how to monetize your expertise and start building something unforgettable, why don't you start with the Vibe Finder GPT now? The link is below. Because here's what those first 30 days taught me. Successful people don't wait until they have all the answers. They take action while they're learning, and they figure it out on the way. So be unforgettable. Be the $2 bill. See you tomorrow for day 5.